Welcome to NFL Daily, where we've seen all the schedules.
Ha! We got it.
And all your teams are going to have a winning record in 2025. I'm Gregg Rosenthal. I'm here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio with my friends Patrick Claybon and Cynthia Frelund.
Hi. Hi, guys.
Hey, Greg. We got the schedule.
The schedule.
It's right here. My hot little hand.
It has been released.
Yes, into the world.
Peek behind the curtain for the first time in a long time. We're actually taping this type of show a few hours, so it just feels like a few hours before it's actually released, so it feels very clandestine right now. No one in the building is allowed to watch this closed circuit show.
They have to actually cut off their left leg if they watch it. They signed something.
It's in the document.
Yeah, we had to sign some crazy NDA.
Specifically left.
Your left leg is gone if you distribute this to anyone.
And it's great. That's how much we love the NFL Daily listeners, because we wanted it to get in their ears as soon as possible. Patrick said about this day earlier that he lives for this.
This is it.
You used expletives.
Yeah, that I will not use here out of respect to Eric and everybody back there. It is fun. This is a show that's just for us because, like you said, nobody can watch this. This is where there's the naysayers out there, but I am a fan of the schedule release. I believe that this isn't a tentpole event to me. It's a flagpole event.
I love it. So everyone has different processes with which they look at the schedule when they get it. For me, I immediately go to the holidays. So let's just start there. Let's go to Thanksgiving, because to me, that's the most important football day on the calendar, maybe with the exception of the Super Bowl or Conference Championship Day. I don't really know. I would go Thanksgiving, and it's a great one this year. We're going to start in Detroit, as always. They actually moved the time to 1 p.m. It's not 12:30 p.m. That's
like a real big deal in Detroit. You know that.
Eastern, yeah. They're gonna have to just wait a little longer. But we got bangers on Thanksgiving. We have Packers, Lions in the early window. Mm-hmm. We have Chiefs, Cowboys in the CBS window, which is a change. I feel like lately they've been giving the Cowboys, sometimes it's not like the sexiest team ever, because that's the most watched game of the year, no matter who they put in that spot. And they put the Chiefs in that spot. So we're getting the Chiefs on Christmas. We're getting the Chiefs the day after kickoff. We're getting the Chiefs everywhere, but we're getting them on Thanksgiving. And then it wraps up with your Baltimore Ravens. Feel like they've been on Thanksgiving night a handful of times.
Yeah.
Hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. That is our Thanksgiving schedule. Our Christmas schedule, and it's a triple header this year because it's on a Thursday. So you get an Amazon Prime game in addition to 2 Netflix games. Is Cowboys Commanders early, Lions Vikings at 4:30, and then Broncos and Chiefs in terms of the primetime game. Let's just start there with your Thanksgiving, Christmas. Any thoughts that you have here?
I mean, I think like the power of the Chiefs is so interesting because not only do they become they test them out on like the NBC Plus, like Peacock, stuff like this, right? Like so the Chiefs are going to rate. We just know that, right? But I think those are great games. I don't mind the later start. I'm on the West Coast, so it's totally fine by me. But in terms of
the Lions, it's only half an hour. I mean, it's not a huge deal.
I understand, but in Detroit, that's like a thing, man. We've got parades. We time our turkey the specific way so it's ready at halftime. The whole thing.
Famous last words, but that's the best Thanksgiving slate I can ever remember.
You could all 3 of those games: Green Bay, Detroit, Kansas City, Dallas, Cincinnati, Baltimore. They could all anchor the holiday.
That's right.
But they have to split time with each other, and they're going to be sequential. And people are going to have to make some choices because normally there's that game where, hey, I can step away and monitor things, go outside and baste the turkey in the smoker. Here, no, this you got to be locked in, and you should be because these are all great. Yeah,
and it's a quarterback league, and that's why I don't mind Dallas in the kickoff game. We already went through some of the early games that had gone out on our last NFL Daily. Went through the international game, went through the kickoff game, but I love that they're doing big time division rivalries there in week 1. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, on Thanksgiving, Bengals, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, that has been one of the reliable, best games in the NFL every time they play, basically. And then the Chiefs have decided they want Christmas to be their thing. Mm-hmm. And they are going to be the Christmas team every year. this time the Broncos get, a tough ass to go on a short week and go to Kansas City.
I seem to remember a Raiders team that beat the Chiefs on Christmas right before the Chiefs went on their run to win the Super Bowl. So it's not like they're infallible on Christmas.
Okay.
I do think the holiday dynamic for both the Lions and the Cowboys.
Yeah. And the Chiefs,
And the Chiefs, where it's just like, okay, you guys are the official holiday representative.
Yep.
From here on out.
Yep. I don't know if it's, from here on out, but this year, the fact that the Lions and the Cowboys are also on
Thanksgiving and
Christmas. I mean, you do see, and it's not a surprise, certain teams are established as truly national teams. And it's some of it's about the audience, like Cowboys, and some of it's about just how good you are, and that's your Lions. How weird is it that your Lions are like a truly national team?
I hate their schedule.
Why?
It's awful.
Yeah.
Well, it's so hard.
It is insanely hard.
Yeah.
And even, I guess like the only redeeming thing is, and you could kind of take this both ways, right? With 2 new coordinators, maybe it goes the other way, but perhaps you can say, hey, at least they won't be 17 deep on the injury report by the time they get to the hard teams, because they start with the hard teams.
Right. They start
at
Green Bay week 1. Let's talk about week 1, because that's the other part of the schedule I immediately go to. Right off the bat, you get Lions and Packers week 1.
Yep.
That is,
by the way, just to round out the Lions one, it goes Packers home against the Bears, then it goes Ravens home against the Browns, but then it goes Bengals, Chiefs, Bucks. I mean, it's just not great.
That's true of the entire NFC North.
Great.
I just feel like
we start off with the mean ones.
Because the NFC North has to play each other, I think it ultimately has the toughest schedule of any division. Out of division, they also play the AFC North, which has, of course, 3 of the best quarterbacks in the league in Lamar and Joe Burrow. And then you got to deal with the Steelers. I guess not one of the best.
But I also don't like the back-to-backs of like the back-to-backs are where I hate it. Like, Joe Burrow, then you got Patrick Mahomes, and then you got the Bucks who they've had this thing with, right? And then you go back-to-back Commanders and Eagles. Psh, not fun.
Yeah, there's all these rematches, and then there's the dichotomy of like you play in the Thanksgiving game because you're Detroit, and
right.
You play in the Christmas game because you're good.
Right.
So it's the combination of all these things.
I would
create the schedule.
I would like to put it out right now there for all the Lions brass who are listening. If you'd like me to come to the game here in Los Angeles on December 14th, I'd be happy to come. I'd be happy to be a guest of the Lions. Rory, I love the mascot. Love it.
That is where the Lions schedule gets particularly hard. Like that Rams game, for instance.
Yeah.
That's when the rest of the division, doesn't have to play. That's a first place game, right?
Yeah. It's not great.
And they're living in primetime, so 5 primetime games plus the 2 holiday games. So they're maxing out there. But like I said, I immediately go to look at week 1 because right now we are all just prepping for week 1. So we knew what the kickoff game was, Cowboys-Eagles. The Friday night game was what everyone thought it was going to be, which is Chiefs-Chargers. So another big spot for the Chiefs. Although I do think it's an edge to get one of those early games. You get to start training camps a couple days earlier, if you're on the kickoff or the Friday game, and then you also get just a little extra rest until week 2 when everyone is tired. I think that's a nice edge. Other week 1 games. There's 8 division games in week 1, which is weird. They really loaded up division games. You have Geno Smith's debut with the Raiders at the New England Patriots in Drake May. That is the game I'm watching in the early window. You have a potential Aaron Rodgers at the New York Jets in the early window if he does join the Steelers. Dolphins, Colts, Cardinals, Saints. Kind of a nice start to the season for either Tyler Shuck or the Cardinals. Cardinals got to be thinking like we're really happy. And then you got Giants, Washington, Carolina, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and then some hot late afternoon games. Detroit at Green Bay, and then Houston at the Rams is a CBS game.
That's a sick game.
Which I'm going to try to get my family to because my son is a Texans fan. My daughter's a Rams fan, and this is like once every 8 years in theory the Texans are coming out there. And that's not even going to be the national game because
it's to pit your kids against each other starting the football season.
It's not my fault. That's not even the national game because you have Lions Green Bay. That's insane. And then Sunday Night Football, week 1, it's Ravens and Bills, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson.
That's the game right there.
Perfect.
That's the game right there. Can you imagine? Like that's so interesting because you kind of have the two sides. Like we the defense is where the Bills spent 5 draft picks and they redid that defense. Good luck. Congratulations. You get Lamar Jackson first.
What do you
Enjoy
think,
that.
What do you think about that, Patrick, as a Ravens enthusiast? And this has happened to them a couple times recently, where you have such a massive game on the schedule, like right off the bat.
Well, considering the way things started last season and the things that had to transpire to get towards the end, it's all cumulative, right? And so it's all going to come out in the wash, and they're all important, every single one of them. But
no, but you're not really the team you're going to be in the first month.
Yeah, as long as, well, like Cynthia said, there's more changes on that side.
There are.
The Bills have had to do a little more shuffling around. It is at home. Mark Andrews will have a chance to catch a ball potentially in the end zone, and maybe people will stop giving him grief about the worst moment of his career.
I had forgotten that.
It is in Buffalo. Just to clarify that Ravens Bills game week 1. Yeah, just looking at the Ravens quickly, they get the Browns week 2 at home, but otherwise their first 6 games before the bye is crazy. They're just really important games for them. At Buffalo, home for Cleveland. Then you have a Monday night game against the Lions, which is like one of the best matchups of the year. You have week 4 at the Chiefs, which is in theory one of the biggest games of the year for them. And then you're back home for the Texans and Rams, 2 teams that are going to be favored to go to the playoffs. Like that is a wild starting stretch. I don't like that when you load up like what looks like the most important games early in the season. We're really going to go with Mahomes versus Lamar and Allen Lamar, like weeks 1 and 4, and get that Lions game out of the way. I don't like that. I want to save it.
I get that, but it's actually, if you think about it, for the way the Ravens play, it feels like you're setting the Ravens up for a really nice finish, because that
it gets easier.
Part,
but their defense always stinks at the beginning of the year.
Oh, what am I saying? I mean,
not
listen.
The war era. Nope.
Let's talk a little bit too about that Monday night game. That's week 1. It's Minnesota at Chicago, and I wanted to just point out that the Vikings are the new America's team.
Are they?
Okay.
Give me your logic.
Here it comes.
Here it comes.
He's done the math.
4 of their first 5 games are in national windows. 5 of their first 7 games are in national windows, not just like standalone windows. So we're talking Monday night at the Bears to open the season. We're talking Sunday night football, the biggest spot in the sport, week 2. That's against the Falcons. You have the 2 international games back to back. We knew about Steelers and Browns in Dublin and Tottenham. And then you have a Thursday night Chargers game in week 8, which is their 7th game. They have a bye. The other 2 games that are not in standalone windows in their opening stretch are home for the Bengals, big spot, Joe Burrow, and then home for the Eagles, the defending champions. Every single one of those games is going to have the top broadcast crew. Like it's a standalone game or it's the best, non-standalone games of that week. So I'm just saying, expect the Vikings, good, bad, or whatever, to be just like a huge part of our lives in September and October.
I'm not being a hater.
Yeah.
But like, here's well, first of all, there was 2 games that are international that by default isn't in America. So just curious about that. And number 2, and number 2, maybe that means that they're worried that like maybe JJ McCarthy gets off to this hot start, and then we don't have to worry about them late in the season.
I should have kept reading, because the next 2 games after where I cut it off is at Detroit and home for Baltimore.
But they aren't putting those in the national small. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they're worried they're not going to be good.
I did go through and, we're just kind of spitballing, look for teams that didn't have too much national windows. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they do get 1 primetime game. It's the Chiefs. On a Monday night, and then they get their international game. The Panthers, they got 1 primetime game. I don't know why I'm focusing on the negative here, but
negative.
I am curious about that sort of stuff. The Cleveland Browns, their only solo window is their international game, so they don't technically have any primetime games. The Panthers did get 1. I was surprised to see the New England Patriots got a primetime game in every primetime window. 1 on Thursday night, 1 on Sunday night,
That's
1 on
they're
Monday night.
Good this year,
and including like a
they're
week
going
11.
He doesn't want to believe you.
Weeks 11
they're
and 13.
Going to be. They'll be the second best team in that division.
Woo!
Whoa.
Bills, Pats. And I'm not even going to go the next two because I don't know. I actually could flip-flop on the other two. Jets, Dolphins, or Dolphins. I don't know. It could go either way, but it goes Bills, Pats.
I think it goes Bills, and then the
Pats.
other three teams are about the same.
Bills?
If you're being generous to the Patriots.
No,
Bills,
Greg's
Pats,
saying
Bills, Pats.
that. I think Gregg agrees with you. He just
does agree with me, but he doesn't want to jinx.
Believe it.
I really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. I've been saying all offseason I like what the Jets have done. The Dolphins ultimately have more proven good NFL players than the Patriots, and they've won a decent amount.
When
under
your
Mike
left
Daniel.
tackle retires, you're going to have an issue. I don't care. Like it's hard, man.
Okay. The Saints.
Are you okay?
Yeah, just got to look around.
Oh no.
Yeah,
This is why you got to check us out on YouTube to see Patrick in a lot of pain. Do we need
Patrick,
to take?
are you okay?
No,
we
I'm
need to take
solid.
a break.
No, we're good.
Are
but
you
I-
sure?
but-
You are truly playing with pain.
You mentioned the Carolina Panthers.
Yes.
And I would like to tell you something that you brought to my attention a while ago about a man named Vic Fangio.
Oh wow.
It's
Okay.
all connected. Let's go back to 1997, Greg. The Chiefs have just extended their head coach, Marty Schottenheimer. But down in San Diego, there was a departure. Bobby Ross was no longer the head coach.
Okay.
A couple of coordinators interviewed for that job. Jags DC Kevin Gilbride, who ultimately became the head coach of the Chargers, and Carolina DC Vic Fangio. It's all connected. 10 years later, Marty Schottenheimer was in a power struggle with A.J. Smith and lost. Dean Spanos said there was dysfunction in the organization because A.J. Smith wanted Ted Cottrell to replace Wade Phillips. But you know who Marty wanted to interview?
Who?
Vic
Fangio.
Ooh.
In week 1 of the 2025 NFL season, it is Vic Fangio against Marty Schottenheimer's son.
Oh, let's
Right.
go.
It's all connected.
Are you okay? I'm just very worried about your back here.
The
That
cramp-
was
the cramp was not
amazing.
part of the
It was
I love the
amazing,
work.
except for the whole, like, I was very fearful that at any moment you were going down.
I love the revenge. I love that it all comes back to Fangio and the Schottenheimers.
Yeah.
It's true with these family names, the Kubiaks. Like there are so many different connections of coaching staffs and the Shanahans. Man, if you want to,
It's like nepotism is like rampant in the NFL.
It exists.
if you want to try even just like a little bit harder, let's go, Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, I was like,
Week one.
what?
Saying. Speaking of revenge, like that, those Rodgers games are great. Assuming Rodgers does play for the Steelers, which I am assuming at this point. That's a great week 1 that they put him in New York. That was intentional. And then there's a week 8 in against the Packers. And obviously Rodgers versus Packers. They put that in Sunday Night Football.
Right.
I believe that Mike North, who makes the schedule, said it. You know, it's not all about just Rodgers. Versus his old team. You know, if the Steelers and the Packers are playing, those are two great franchises. We would put that in Sunday Night Football. But it wouldn't be a bad thing. I think they knew making this schedule, not what Rodgers was going to do, but that if he does play for the Steelers, and the Rooneys are literally on record saying they expect that to happen, and I'm sure they've said that privately as well, that that's a great Sunday night game in Week 8.
It doesn't hurt the attention, but also especially with regards to the Packers and the Steelers, like that game was going to be, people were going to pay attention to that one eventually, no matter what. In the event that we do get in 12 days an announcement that Aaron Rodgers has made a decision about playing football, then we have to wait until 15 days after that. He's going to be announcing that he's playing with the Steelers.
When's the day where all the things are done? Like all the camps and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think he wants to participate in anything until training camp.
I buy
like,
that
I'm not,
theory.
Like, I just don't. Like, he was in Egypt last year and he took a lot of flack for it. I think he's like, I've been doing this for like more than half my life. I don't owe you guys whatever. Like, I'll come when I'm ready to come. Like, I just, whatever day, do the math backwards to figure out whatever day that is. That's when we'll hear.
Yeah. Let's go through the primetime schedules a little bit. Like the Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night. I mentioned some of the things that stuck out to me in terms of standalone games. The Saints were another team that had 0 standalone games. Not a surprise in terms of where they're at. One thing in that division that stuck out, Atlanta Falcons in Sunday Night Football, the biggest spotlight in the sport, twice in the first 7 weeks of the season. So Atlanta Falcons fans, who I probably feel like they have been ignored sometimes over the years, that's a nice spot for them. And they have another early Monday night game against the Buffalo Bills. Anything stand out to you, Patrick, in terms of the Thursday, the Sunday, the Monday night?
Generally, Thursday night, I'm going through and looking at these weeks. I would take the Thursday night game over the Monday night game of all of these weeks almost 85% of the time.
Okay, so you're just saying big picture TNF better than Monday night.
Schedule. Like if we go to week 2, you get Washington versus Green Bay on TNF, and then on Monday night Tampa Bay Houston, Kansas City.
That one's kind of equal to me.
Yeah, Chargers at Vegas would be the Monday night game that week. We get the, of course, always fun revenge in division Thursday night game, week 5, San Francisco at the Rams. And then Monday night is Kansas City at Jacksonville.
It does feel a little more evenly distributed. Even Sunday night football doesn't seem like it's miles better on paper. They have some really big spotlight games, but there's a couple weeks where like it looks more like a TNF Monday night football game. I think they're trying to spread it out. One thing that was interesting, though, there's 4 Monday night double headers this year. So if that's more than ever.
As a Shield robot, obviously I celebrate all events of the National Football League. I would like these standalone games to literally stand alone. It defeats the whole purpose of having Monday Night Football if you're having to flip the channel and divert your attention from one to the next. It's not good.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll wrap up figuring out this entire schedule right after this. Back on NFL Daily. Yeah, your Lions all over primetime. You know what stands out to me? A nice little Cowboys-Lions late in the season on Thursday night. They're just everywhere.
Great. That's one of their easier games. I mean, compared to the rest of that stupid schedule.
Stupid.
Well, let's talk about if there's trends in terms of general schedule thoughts. I did a very rough thing where I tried to pick which divisions I thought had the easiest schedule. Yep. And it's obviously the NFC West.
Yes, 100%.
They play each other, and it is a very tough division. Arguably the second or third best division in all of football, I think, NFC West. It's balanced. But out of division, they play the AFC South and the NFC South. I know you run a lot of numbers in terms of totals and everything. Did you have that effect and
yes.
help the NFC West?
100%. Yeah, I mean, the Niners getting a 4th place schedule, and it's like, here you go. I know their defense is completely remade and they've got a lot of things going on and Brock Purdy needs to get paid, et cetera. But it feels like it sets up very well for the Niners to go from, we always have people go from worst to first. So playing that 4th place schedule for them especially is extremely valuable. And that actually narrowly edges them over the Rams for me to win the division. Just because the Rams have a harder schedule.
Yeah, the Rams, in terms of their first place schedule, is harder. But ultimately, I think the Rams and the rest of the division just has to be happy because I went through and I just did my own little division rankings, my own little strength of schedule, because I don't really believe in the strength of schedule, just out of division games. And for the most part, most of them are similar, but the NFC West just stands out as way easier than the rest. The hardest, I thought, was the NFC East. Now, I would argue the NFC North maybe even has it tougher because they have to play each other. And then out of division, the NFC North still has a very tough schedule, AFC North, NFC East. NFC East, though, has to play against the NFC North. So that's that gauntlet with the Packers and the Vikings and the Lions, even the Bears are better. And then in the AFC, they have to play the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Broncos, and the Raiders are thrown in there too. So to me, that's probably the toughest out of division schedule, NFC East.
For sure.
Yeah, outside of the division. Inside of the division, they all get to play the Giants.
Wait, hold on. Can we talk about the Giants schedule?
Sure.
The Giants are playing a 4th place schedule. And they have from October 19th until their bye in week 14. So October 19th is week 7. They're away at Denver, at Eagles, hosting the Niners, at the Bears, hosting the Packers. So that's 2 times at home, at the Lions, at the Patriots on a Monday night, and then a bye. So they have 2 home games from October 19th until December 14th. What? You're asking...
I never know what to do with those. I agree with you. That's a brutal stretch, but that means they get it back on the other end. The problem that they don't get back is that they just have to play all these good.
So you're asking, okay, so you're asking a new quarterback to figure out the Commanders, Then this is how it starts. At Washington, at Dallas. Dallas
That's fine.
defense.
That's an average first 2 weeks, except it's 2 road.
Washington?
Yeah.
Eh.
You're going to need...
Then you got the Chiefs and the Chargers. Okay,
That's
fine.
tough.
You know what?
Yeah.
Fine. It's
The-
easy.
the
You're
only-
right. You're right.
the
I'm
only
not
scenario-
saying it's easy. It's just the first 2 games didn't scare me as much as that other Eagles, at Broncos, at Eagles.
That's
that
a
is absolutely brutal.
October 19th to December 14th, you are home twice, and it's the Niners and the Packers.
And even the game before that is home on a short week against the Eagles. Like that's brutal.
Maybe it's great that Abdul Carter has no idea what's about to hit him. They've never played any schedule in the NFL before, so maybe they won't know what you don't know.
Well, the problem isn't Abdul Carter, right? The problem is because Jackson Dart at some point is going to have to come in to try to save everybody's job. And
when
the opportunity, I guess, would be October 5th at the Saints, right? But the problem is if you start Jackson Dart on October 5th, then you have to play him against the Eagles, against the Broncos on the road.
I'm not doing that.
And then
Eagles
the Eagles
and Broncos
again.
in a row. Eagles, Broncos, Eagles. N-O-N-O.
Here are your first 3 starts, Jackson Dart. Enjoy.
So much about if you're going to have a better than expected season or a worse than expected season is just in the divisional
100%.
rotation. And it's in injury luck and other stuff like that in terms of the teams that you play, whether they have injury luck at the time you play them and not. But a lot of it is just these division schedules either rising, helping out a lot of teams or crushing
But let's
a lot
just
of them.
compare. Okay, so I told you how the Giants start. Now here's how the Commanders start.
Okay.
Giants, we know. Okay. At Green Bay, that's hard. But then they get Raiders and then at Falcons.
Yep.
That's their first 4.
Not bad.
So maybe 3 wins out of that one.
Right.
They're playing the second place schedule.
It's also I think if you're a bad team or you're in you've had a couple tough seasons, you do want a softer early part of the schedule. Now, this is one thing where the NFL says they try to have the teams that have struggled play against each other early in the season to help them out. So, for instance, the Panthers start with 2 games on the road, 3 out of 4, at Jacksonville, at Arizona. But the best team that they play, in the first 7 weeks, is Atlanta or New England or Dallas. They don't play a team that you expect to have 11, 12 wins this season in the first 7 weeks. So they're saying to the Panthers here, before it gets tough, here's a chance to have a good start. I think the Patriots got a similar start to their season. They open with the Raiders, which no game is going to be easy for them. They open, they're at Miami, and then they're home for the Steelers and the Panthers. Now, it's not like they're going to be favored by a ton in any of those games, but it's 3 out of 4 at home, and the best team you play in that group is either Miami or Pittsburgh. So that's what you're looking for. Just avoid the superhumans like Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes.
I think also avoid
Eagles.
the people who are going to be extremely tricky. And the Raiders defense, as much as the front of it is very nasty, it's not like they're going to give you false leverages. And Drake May's not going to have to be like, is this man or zone? That's not going to happen. They had to read, their corners are still an issue. It's not fixed yet. So perhaps it'll be easier. What are you laughing?
I don't know.
No, I just love, I love Mike Vrabel and Pete Carroll in completely different scenarios with completely different players, and we expect a certain thing. I don't know.
Oh, so you're going a record now and taking the Raiders?
I just don't know what.
Why not?
I don't know what I'm expecting because
why not?
The last time I saw Mike Vrabel coach a team, they were terrible. And for the most part, his defenses in Tennessee were fine. They were average. And the best thing about those teams was weirdly an offense run by Ryan Tannehill and Arthur Smith. And by the way, Derrick Henry. Yeah, I guess he mattered just a little bit.
Seems like he might have played a role.
He probably was the most underpaid player in the league in hindsight at the time.
Yeah. I'm not today.
Yes. We might as well throw some news in there. Derrick Henry signed a 2-year contract for a reported $30 million, according to our NFL media insider, Ian Rappaport, with $25 million guaranteed. So I like it. It's the most, apparently, any running back over 30 has ever made, which is a pretty big caveat, but I think it's a fair deal. Running backs are getting paid again, a little bit.
I mean, between he and Saquon Barkley, they should. Those guys proved themselves, and they're still, they're not in a situation where, the team actually is maybe we have a substitute one that we could put in for you. They don't have substitute ones. It helps Lamar Jackson having Derrick Henry. It helps everyone having Saquon Barkley on that Eagles offense.
But for context, they essentially, for 2 years, Derrick Henry is going to make 2025 Daniel Jones money.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like,
well,
it is better.
It's hard to compare, though, quarterbacks with.
No, but it's true, though.
Yeah.
Even he's getting, like last year, for instance, he was getting like Jordan Lewis, the nickel back for the Jaguars, money, like 10, 11,
Right.
and even that was like, he did not have a strong market last year, and they got a bargain out of it. Multiple things can be true, though. At some point, Derrick Henry has to not be a bionic superhero. And next year, like, I would like to see them maybe take the load off just a little bit so that 2026 guaranteed money, all that money that they gave him, is well used. Because at some point it has to.
Well, yeah,
but on some level, are you like? I will say, when it's a team like the Ravens, they're so smart with their cap. There's probably the way that it's structured, and I don't know because I haven't looked into it and I don't have the information necessarily. But like the way that they structure things, perhaps they are paying him basically like a bonus for what happened last year.
Yes,
because
that's how other players get paid.
Let's be fair. That this isn't happening with the Bengals. They have to figure out how to rub two pennies together to figure things out sometimes. This is not with the Ravens. You can look at that and say, well, however they're guaranteeing it, I can pretty much say that they're being fair with how they're paying someone, probably for his past performance and not necessarily into the future. Like,
And the volume doesn't necessarily have to be a certain thing to justify the contract, like you said.
Right.
And like the best case scenario for Baltimore and for Derrick Henry is, around 200 carries, around 20 touchdowns. The best case scenario for some of these backup quarterbacks is them never playing. Right?
Yeah.
Actually, that's in many cases the best. Think about it. Every time with the Chiefs, you're like, great, backup quarterback is there. Best case scenario, he never sees the field.
These north on north battles, just thinking about the Ravens, they're just awesome all season. Like, part of the reason that the Ravens feel so front loaded with awesome games is like because there's awesome games throughout. Even with all that front loading, they have the Thanksgiving game against the Bengals. They actually play the Bengals twice in 3 weeks. You hate when that happens. I know the NFL tries to avoid it. It's really hard putting everything together and avoiding stuff like that. But they play twice in 3 weeks between weeks 13 and 15.
I love those division games at the end, though.
And then they also
I'd rather them all be.
They have an at Green Bay on a Saturday, which just as a quarterback lover is like Jordan Love, Lamar Jackson. You get the Joe Burrow versus Jordan Love. It's just these matchups that,
The benefit of playing the Bengals for the Ravens 2 times in 3 weeks is Jamar Chase may be tired of running down the field by himself. By that second game.
Stop it. You got another safety. Malachi Starks is there. It's going to be good. Everything's going to be
Although, speaking of news, our Darius Washington tore his Achilles this week.
I hate that injury.
A really good starting safety who was going to be part of 3 safety rotation starting.
Well, at least they got Malachi Starks, though. Like, in general, can you imagine if they went a different direction in the draft now? It would be very different.
Why are younger athletes tearing their Achilles more often, says the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, it's a rough week for Achilles.
You know what I'm not surprised about with the release of these schedules?
What?
Is that the Bears, who you're always looking for to get into big spots, are in big spots. They get the week 1 Monday Night Football game. They get the Commanders Monday Night Football game. They get the Black Friday game. They get a cool Saturday game against the Packers, and then they get a Week 17 Sunday Night Football game, assuming that hangs out against the 49ers. Before we go, is there just any other kind of takeaways? I know you run the numbers with your win totals once the schedule is put in. Is there anything that came away from all those numbers that were interesting to you?
Yeah, so there's 2 things that are action items, not for us because we work for the NFL, but I believe that the markets are undervaluing. You're going to get a good stock price on. If you want to, ideally in the stock market, you buy low, sell high, right?
Sure.
So you want to be buying the Seahawks right now. I think they're undervalued in terms of how Las Vegas believes that they will finish. Not me. I don't know anything about that, but fine. And then the other one is the Patriots. They're undervalued as well. Those 2 teams, I believe, are. Last year, I was
Wasn't there over under like at 8.5 or something, 7.5?
The Pats?
Yeah.
I think it was 7.5.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the spot, but man, that seems fair.
I'm Greg. I think the Patriots are going to be bad.
Listen, we all work together for enough years now. My lion, like the lion luck stuff, I get it. I'm with you. But for everyone else at home, the Patriots are undervalued per Las Vegas.
Fair. Shout out to the Seahawks. I kind of thought they might be ignored in the Sam Darnold, post Pete Carroll era, and actually they're in a lot of fun spots.
They're good.
They have a Thursday night game against the Cardinals. They have a Monday night game against the Texans, although that is an ESPN Plus game. They have a Sunday night game against the Commanders.
I don't think we're calling it ESPN Plus anymore. I think it's just ESPN.
Thursday night game. Okay, good to know. Thursday night game against the Rams, like a Saturday game. So the NFC West is in a lot of big spots. So that is your action items. Okay.
Those are my 2 action. Last year, my action items were the Broncos and the Seahawks, and both of them were already actioned by like week 11. So those are my 2.
Well, not only that, Cynthia, you have not made a big enough deal about the show that we do together. We're doing it today, Game Day View, where we do it. We pick the games every week, all season. Before the season, you had the Eagles winning the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. You hit the exact Super Bowl result.
Thanks. I appreciate you remembering that.
At a time when not a lot of people were picking the Eagles to win the Super Bowl last year. In fact, I had picked them to win the Super Bowl like the previous 2 years and then got off of it like an idiot.
That's what's going to happen to you again this year with your Super Bowl pick. I just know it.
I'm keeping that close to the vest on this show.
Go watch that.
We have a long time to talk about all these games. I think we've done a good job here. Unless anyone has something, they have to get out here. It's been a great week here at NFL Daily. Thank you guys for stopping by.
I'm glad to see you. Yeah. I miss you. It's weird because I don't, during the season I see you guys so often, and then feel like it's been like a long, long time.
Well, you know what? You're going to really enjoy the show we do in just a little bit together, too. Thanks, everyone, for listening all week on NFL Daily. We will be back on Monday morning, overnight. We're actually going to have a fun one, some rankings.
Overnight?
That's going to really, what
does that even mean?
Upset.
You're like late night? It's like late night NFL Daily?
When you're staying up late and you're listening to the new schedule.
Oh, late night time with Greg. I see how it's going.
Football's back.